All right, we are back in action, and I'm here today to talk about the Chinese evergreen, also known as the Aglonema, Ag for short. And what is there not to love about this really reverent, beautiful? Oh, check it out right here. It's flowering. It's not really the most beautiful flower, but flowering nonetheless. This Aglonema right here, it is so low maintenance. I mean, I really don't do much for this plant. I've had it for probably a year, maybe a year and a half now, and it actually sits on my coffee table probably about 8 feet away from a south facing window. So I'm going to get into all that, the light requirements, the humidity, how much water to give it, what type of soil, even down to what type of pot you should use for the Aglonema, because all of that really comes into play. But before I get too far into all the descriptions and the details and the care requirements, do me a huge favor. Please give it a subscribe, give it a like on that little bar right below this video. And that way, that really helps me out a lot, and I can keep more of this content coming. But I will keep the content coming nonetheless, because I like helping out the community, and these videos are really fun for me to post. I would love to post more. As some of you know, I run a landscape business throughout the daytime, so I'm super busy. This is a really involved time of the season right now, but houseplants is how all of this began. So watch my video on how I got into houseplants. Pretty entertaining stuff there. But back to the Chinese evergreen. So I picked this up a couple years ago, I want to say, at a local garden nursery, and there's no way you can really pass up on all this beauty. I mean, look at this thing. It definitely just stops you right in your tracks, and if you have any type of regard for plants at all, then you're going to want to have one. So what I did was I brought it home. Probably a few days later, a week later, I planted it in this really beautiful looking. I mean, I feel like this pot and the plant are like a match made. Just that striation that goes around the pot really accents the silvery variegation of this Aglonema here. But when I repotted it, all I did, I used, I want to say like a all-purpose mix. Nothing fancy, nothing out of the ordinary. So these do like to stay on the dry side. So with that being said, I wouldn't go as far as to use a cactus soil. I would still use something that's going to keep it somewhat moist, but it's got to be well draining, and it definitely has to eventually dry out. If you wanted to play around with potentially mixing like a all-purpose potting soil with the cactus soil, you could certainly go that route. But just a regular cactus or a regular soil would work nonetheless. And then from there, just put it in a area where you get bright and direct light or medium light. This can take low light, but you're not going to see the performance that I think you got into this plant for in the first place. You're going to lose some of this variegation. A lot of this variegation is more pronounced when you get more light, and it's just not going to grow very much or at all, really. It might just kind of like hover. So give it some light. I think where I have it is perfect. And I think it's time to give this a little tad smidge of granular fertilizer. I'm a big granular fertilizer fan. I'm busy on the go and don't always have time to necessarily use a liquid fertilizer, but certainly if you want to go that route with a liquid fertilizer, I would do something at half to a quarter strength. And you're going to see just more vivid, I mean, almost overnight too. When I give them a touch of, some. Oh, snap, guys. Sorry, my camera died. And so I had to totally start from scratch after charging everything back up again. So, where was I? Where did I get left off? I know I covered the type of pot that I have this in. And so, terracotta, once again, look at it. It's beautiful. It's perfect for this Aglonema here. This is the first diamond Aglonema. Now that I have done a little bit of digging on the internet, at first it was escaping me the type of Aglonema. First diamond. And all else you need to know, just keep this thing nice and humid in a humid setting. Group it up around some other plants, put a pebble tray up underneath it. But whatever you got to do to keep the humidity level at a high, and just give it that bright indirect sunlight. Don't water it too much. Let it dry out in between waterings. Get yourself a nice porous, well draining potting mix, one that you can see a lot of this perlite inside of, and just appreciate it for what it is, because it's a really super low maintenance, super easy care house plant that goes great in indoors, especially. Outdoors a little bit tricky, so I'd be aware of that. But grab yourself one if you don't have one already. If not, if you have it, just make sure to watch the video all the way to the end and know that you now have everything it takes to make this plant nice and happy. Feel free to leave a comment on what your ups and downs, what you're struggling with, if you're seeing brown tips, if you aren't getting much performance out of your plant. Let me know and I can help you troubleshoot what it is and why, and we can get you back to square one. So thanks so much again for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Until then.